Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today we are taking on a book that's more than just a literary classic. It's a chilling cautionary manual on how absolute control is established and, maintained.
We are talking about George Orwell's 1984.
Exactly. We've looked through a powerful stack of sources, analyses, and literary critiques that treat this novel not as historical fiction, but as a prophetic text. It details the engineering of a totalitarian state.
It really does.
Okay, let's unpack this. Our mission for this deep dive is to cut through the general awareness of the book and extract the most terrifying and relevant concepts.
The key nuggets of knowledge.
Yes, the key nuggets about how the fictional state of Oceania systematically controls reality, thought, and most crushingly, human identity. If you're looking for a thorough understanding of modern authoritarianism, we are going straight to the source.
What's fascinating here is that the novel's enduring power really comes from its systemic approach. Orwell gave us a complete blueprint.
It's not just a story about a bad government.
No, it's an expose on how power, when left totally unchecked, will inevitably seek the annihilation of the individual soul. The systems he describes are what make this text so perpetually influential.
So let's start with that blueprint, the physical structure of control. The setting is Oceania, a perpetually warring superpower ruled by the party and presided over by Big Brother.
The symbolic figurehead.
Right. And it's a drab, decaying world, and every single element is designed to eradicate the possibility of independence.
One of the most immediate and defining features that our source material highlights is the use of omnipresent surveillance to generate systemic fear.
And we're talking about the telescreens.
Exactly. These screens are everywhere, in homes, workplaces, public spaces, and they transmit propaganda while simultaneously watching and listening to every single citizen, day and night.
And the sources point out the psychological genius of the telescreen isn't just that it watches you, it's that you never know for sure if it's watching you at any given moment, right?
Precisely. That perpetual uncertainty is the true mechanism of control. It creates a state of constant voluntary self-censorship.
You police yourself.
You are forced to perform obedience, even in private, because the threat of detection is always there. It feels real. There is no true refuge, no private space.
And to enforce the psychological landscape, you obviously need the thought police.
Yes, and that is such a key insight. It's not enough to control actions. The party has to control intent.
So dissent isn't a crime based on evidence.
No, it's a crime based on your internal disposition. A flicker is an expression, a word muttered in your sleep, some unconscious rebellion in your inner monologue. That is enough.
The effect is devastating.
It is. Trust between human beings is completely destroyed. If the party can turn neighbors against neighbors, or even children against parents, which they do with groups like the Spies, then individuality collapses because the only safe allegiance is to the state.
But the party wasn't content merely watching people's bodies. The true war was for their minds, which brings us to the intellectual heart of the party's control.
The manipulation of reality itself.
Which is all handled by the Ministry of Truth, where we meet our protagonist, Winston Smith.
And a crucial detail here. Winston's job is not just censorship. His daily task is the active rewriting of historical records.
He adjusts every old newspaper, every statistic, every book, so the past always aligns perfectly with whatever the party is saying right now.
And this is where the depth of Orwell's warning really comes in. It's the shocking realization that facts aren't discovered or recorded. They are manufactured on demand.
So if the party needs to claim that chocolate rations have increased this week,
Winston retroactively proves they were always higher than they are today. If their current military ally becomes their enemy overnight, Winston just wipes away all memory of the alliance.
So that raises an interesting question. If they possess the power to force belief, why do they still need the tedious physical process of historical revisionism? Why not just issue a new order and command citizens to believe it?
That's a great question. And the sources clarify that the revisionism is essential because it dismantles the very idea of an external objective truth. It ensures that the party's word is the only reference point you have.
Ah, I see. So if physical proof of the past ceases to exist,
and your memories can't be corroborated by a single piece of evidence, then truth resides only in the collective mind of the party. Your own memory becomes unreliable.
here's where it gets really interesting, because surviving in this manufactured reality requires a specific and, frankly, brutal mental discipline, the concept known as doublethink.
Doublethink is absolutely pivotal to understanding Oceania. It's It's defined as the ability to hold two completely contradictory beliefs in your mind simultaneously
And accept both as true.
and accept both as true. It's the conscious belief in the lie while at the same time knowing it's a lie.
Think about the core slogans of the party.
War is peace, freedom is slavery, and ignorance is strength. These aren't just ironic statements. They are commands to perform mental gymnastics.
So Winston, for example, has to perform doublethink every time he rewrites a document.
Yes, he knows he is fabricating a lie, but he must simultaneously believe and defend that fabrication as the undeniable truth of the past.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this goes so far beyond simple hypocrisy or even traditional propaganda.
Much further. Propaganda usually tries to replace one belief with another. Doublethink demands you actively destroy your own critical thinking capacity at the point of realization. You have to destroy logic itself to survive.
So despite this overwhelming machinery of control, the surveillance, the destruction of history, and the forced mental surrender of Doublethink Winston begins his quiet rebellion.
And it's rooted in his refusal to surrender his inner voice.
His rebellion is small and fragile, isn't it? Almost a whisper against the gale force of the state.
It is. He commits 3 foundational acts. Starting a secret diary, which is an act of preserving personal history.
Which is a thought crime in itself.
Absolutely. Then there's his forbidden love affair with Julia and his desperate, doomed search for external historical truth. Just trying to find concrete proof that a better past existed.
And the sources highlight a great distinction between Winston and Julia's methods of resistance.
Yes, a very important one.
Winston's rebellion is fundamentally intellectual. He's trying to find the truth. He wants to know that there is an objective, external reality outside of the party's fiction. He's fighting the system conceptually.
Whereas Julia's rebellion is entirely personal and immediate. She seeks freedom in small, tangible, human experiences.
Intimacy, pleasure.
Exactly. Wearing non-regulation clothing, carving out a private physical space simply for personal gratification. She knows the party is a lie, but she doesn't really care about abstract concepts like historical truth. Her goal is just to stay alive and seize small moments of life under the boot.
But the tragedy is that both types of resistance, the intellectual and the personal, are perfectly foreseen by the party.
Absolutely. The terrifying realization that dawns on Winston is that the party doesn't just tolerate small acts of dissent.
It encourages them.
It actively allows them, uses them as bait to identify those with independent thoughts, and then brings them in for utter destruction. Which brings us to the infamous Ministry of Love.
Which is the ministry with no windows and barbed wire where dissidents are taken. And it's not a place of execution, not really. It's a place of forced psychological conversion.
And this is where Winston is arrested and tortured by O'Brien, who had been feigning mentorship.
O'Brien is the ultimate intellectual horror in the novel. He doesn't just inflict pain. He performs surgery on the soul. He provides the party's true, horrifying philosophy. He just articulates why they do what they do.
And that philosophy, which is the absolute peak of the source's analysis, is that power exists solely for its own sake.
No grander purpose.
Exactly. O'Brien confirms there is no utopian pretense, no Marxist goal, no religious fervor, and no future beyond absolute control. He says if they choose to make 2 + 2 = 5, then it equals 5.
And the party's victory is achieved not when its enemies are killed,
but when they mentally surrender the ability to question reality itself. The goal is perpetual control, forever. It is the purest definition of nihilistic power.
That deepens the horror leading into the final tragedy of the novel. Winston's complete transformation. He is beaten physically, but more importantly, he is spiritually and psychologically annihilated.
When he is forced into Room 101.
Oh, Room 101.
And Room 101 isn't a chamber of external torture. It's a confrontation with the individual's single greatest fear. For Winston, that fear is rats.
And the ultimate mechanism of his defeat is being forced to say, "Do it to Julia, not me."
By forcing him to betray the only person he ever genuinely loved, not just his principles, but his deepest human bond, the party destroys the last remnant of his internal moral compass.
The process is horrifyingly effective.
Because the system is won entirely. Winston no longer questions the party. He doesn't remember love, truth, or rebellion. He is utterly hollowed out, achieving that desired state of emotional and intellectual emptiness.
So, what does this all mean? Orwell presents his conclusion not as peace or stability, but as the ultimate, definitive defeat, the complete annihilation of the human soul.
Right. The horror of 1984 isn't the physical deprivation. It's the systematic destruction of personal identity and the capacity for free thought that enables it.
And that profound psychological insight is precisely why 1984 remains so influential and terrifyingly relevant today.
It really is. Even though we don't have physical telescreens, we contend with mass surveillance, algorithmic censorship, and information warfare that constantly blurs the line between fact and manufactured narrative. Orwell's novel serves as a perpetual alarm bell.
His core message is simple, then.
Very simple. Yeah. Freedom begins in the mind. The moment you lose the capacity to remember objective truth, and the moment you allow doublethink to become a necessary survival skill, everything else follows. The novel reminds you that the fight for truth, for memory, and for individuality is never truly over.
This has been a heavy, but I think necessary, deep dive into Orwell's prophecy. We've covered the absolute control achieved through telescreen surveillance and the thought police.
The systematic manufactured facts produced by the Ministry of Truth that destroy objective reality.
The necessary mental gymnastics of doublethink, and the party's horrifying philosophy that power exists solely for its own sake. I mean, it is a terrifying picture of total identity destruction.
And to leave you with a final thought to mull over, one that builds on the material in the novel's deepest fears. If freedom begins in the mind, and the party's most significant success is the systematic, continuous erasure of the past through historical revisionism, how might that continuous erasure make it impossible for future generations to even conceive of freedom? If our memory of choice, of dissent, or a better state is eradicated, how can a rebel ever find the foundation to start questioning the system? That concept, the importance of collective memory as the foundation for dissent, is something powerful to consider.
That is a chilling thought indeed. Thank you for engaging with us in this deep dive into the world of Oceania.